Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined in studio with Mark, base runner, normal partner in crime, Bryan Leonard. And guys, with the three of us together, if we had a couple beers in a sunny afternoon, it'd be like spring training. Last time the three of us were together.
That's right, the Cubs game. Cubs game that was more expensive than the Diamondbacks regular season game.
Yeah,
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
as you can see, I wore my Arizona State shirt in honor of our Arizona.
There you go. For people who don't know, we go spring training most every year. We missed it this year, but last year was the opening year of the Cubs' new ballpark, and we had to pay more for a exhibition,
Oh, it's crazy.
spring training
those
game.
seats are more than the regular season seats.
We actually scalped tickets to a spring training
And you
game.
have to if you don't buy the Cubs ones early, because that's the first place to sell out.
Yeah, unbelievable. Well, guys, here we are. We're in the middle of May filming. We're already, can you believe we're 6 weeks into the baseball season already? It's like, where's time fly? April's gone. So what I wanted to do in this video is, let's talk about some pitchers that, maybe overachieving, underachieving, if there's any guys that you got. Now, obviously, we all know there's some pitchers we've been making money with going against. The value's been there. Poor Matt Cain from San Francisco has been basically a piñata. But last night, even though he lost, he finally pitched a good game, last night. But he had been getting bounced around all year. Jake Peavy also. Chris Medlin, which is a guy that we talked about earlier in a video, Brian, when we were talking about Kansas City, and we thought that they would be an underachieving team this year after winning the World Series last year. I didn't like him coming from the National League to the American League. But guys, do you got any other pitchers that, stick out to you that, or some of your favorites so far that you've been cashing with, or you think might be undervalued because they got off the slow starts that you look for a turnaround?
Did you want to start?
Well, I just want to make a general statement about young pitchers. Sean Manaea is a guy who has a lot of talent. I've been waiting for him to come up to the majors. They've thrown him in. He's gotten pounded. So a lot of people who don't follow players in the minor leagues and the scouting reports, they're just going to assume this guy's just not a good pitcher. Well, once he gets his feet wet, and there's other guys too that have got started and they've not pitched as well as they'd liked. These guys are really good pitchers, and a lot of times it's like with batters, like Buxton for the Twins. It takes a while to get going. Now he's down to the minors again. He's starting to hit again. So don't give up on these guys just because they haven't been really good right out of the gate.
The flip side to that, with a young pitcher that may be struggling, you have the flip side where you got a guy that's pitching phenomenal. And one of the guys, young pitcher, is the Philadelphia Philly pitcher, Nola. This guy's been lights out so far. But what I want to say is, we always talk about, pitchers have the advantage first time through the league. Most pitchers, if you got any kind of talent, they're not familiar with you, you're going to have an edge over the hitter. Let's see if these guys can do that when they start facing teams for the second and third time, and as you go deeper into the season where a full season in major leagues, they're going to log more innings than they've ever logged before. See if they start to have some tired arms second half of the season when we get to that. Mark, any pitchers that you want to comment?
Well, I just wanted to compliment you because you talked for a minute and you made about 4 great points, about the second time through the league, about people getting scouting report, about the toil of a full league season. And there are a couple pitchers that I would like to talk about. The first of all, I'll do one on the side that I think he's a little bit overrated right now, and it's surprising to me. But I went over his pitcher. We call it the log cutter on the Crunch Pod, and I went over his log cutter. And Zimmerman, we had rated Jordan Zimmerman from Detroit. We had him rated at a 97. At the start of the year, and I had to downgrade him. The guy's 5-1, but I had to downgrade him based on his sabermetric statistics. And we look at strikeout, walk rate, ground ball rate, and then I also look at swinging strikes to batter's face. I think that's important if the guy's missing a lot of bats. And he didn't really have any. We had to take him down 13 points. So that was surprising to me with Zimmerman. And on the positive side, the Thor Syndergaard from the Mets, we rated him pretty low, which a low rating on the BaseWinner, the lower the better for the pitcher because he's suppressing runs. So we had him at a 78 and upgraded him last night to a 69. And it's really hard to upgrade. The lower your rating is, it's harder to get get those incremental adjustments. But his BaseWinner log cutter is incredible. I mean, he's got some outstanding outings, crazy swinging strikes to batters faced rate. I mean, every number is good. Walks, strikeouts. I mean, I had to upgrade him from a 78 to a 67. So those two pitchers that I think that I mean, Syndergaard, Thor, even though he gets a lot of publicity, I think we had him a little bit undervalued. Yeah.
And I agree on the Zimmerman part, because as you pointed out, he comes from the National League to the American League, and he's never been a big strikeout pitcher. So you go into the American League where you've got the DH and you've got really good hitting teams. I'm really surprised he's gotten off to this start. And you mentioned Nola. Nola's been around for a little while now, and you take a look at that Philadelphia pitching staff, a lot of young players on that pitching staff that could be really good. And that's one of the good things about being a bad team for so long. We see Houston, we've seen Philadelphia. They get young players, and if they develop them correctly, those are people you can make some money on.
One of the ones that I'm going to throw out there that, he's got a big name because of the past few years, but he's not putting up the numbers this year except with the strikeouts. He's still, one of the leaders in strikeouts, and that's Chris Archer for Tampa Bay. His ERA and his WHIP, not typical Chris Archer numbers, but yet he's still striking. So it's either, it's feast or famine with him. Do you think that this is, which pattern do you think is more likely to continue? Him giving up the hits and, and the WHIP being as high as it is?
For myself, I like Chris Archer. He's things that happen behind the scenes that people don't know about. He's taken over a leadership role this year, so maybe he's spreading himself too thin, trying to be the leader on that team. But he's been a good pitcher his entire career, and as you see, when you take a look at the strikeouts and walks, that's how really, a lot of people look at ERA and all that, but if you just look at strikeouts and walks, the ratio, you can tell if somebody's doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I use, and this will be my second horse reference in one day, but I use the pitcher strikeouts like reading the racing form, because horses have patterns where they go in and out. If you have a guy that's, a high strikeout guy that's generally striking out six or more a game, and then all of a sudden he only has 2 or 3, to me, it's a warning sign that maybe he's about to go out of form. And on the flip side, if you got somebody that's only averaging 4 or 5, and all of a sudden you got a couple starts of 8 or 9, he's really dealing it and he's feeling it, and he's somebody that you might want to jump on, especially if his numbers weren't good to that point. He's going to be undervalued. Mark.
Yeah, Bryan made a good point. His strikeout rate is really good. We got him at a 123, meaning he's 1.23 times better than the average pitcher. His control's been a little bit poor this year, so I don't know. I mean, it brings up a good point. When do you adjust a pitcher? Do you adjust him after 7 games? Do you adjust him after 10 games? And I think that it's more art than science, but I think it's better if you keep the number a more historical, longer term, larger sample size number, if you hold on to that as long as you can. But then there's some guys like Felix Hernandez. I mean, you have to adjust him downward. You have to, based on what he's done this year. So Archer, I think the jury's still out on the guy.
Basically, would you guys agree though, Vegas is slower to adjust go backwards on a name player. They're gonna let it, you're gonna pay for a name longer than maybe you should. And us as sharp bettors, it's to our advantage to find somebody that might be declining before Vegas catches up to them, because they're slower to do it, because they know the public knows the names.
Well, when you mention Vegas, basically it's the betting markets.
Yeah.
And when you've got, you talked about the pitchers out in San Francisco, you got a nice pitcher's ballpark, you got a good hitting team, and you've got guys that have had a pretty good track record. I mean, injuries for the last few years for Kane and PV have really hurt them. But yeah, that's one of the reasons we've been able to make money going against those guys this year. So some people take longer to make the adjustments, and as you pointed out, Mark, it's not easy to do. You need to look at everything and decide at that point. Like, take a look at Big Papi just a few years ago. He was done. Everybody counted him as being done. Now he's retiring. Everybody's saying, "Why is he retiring?" So it's a small sample sizes. You got to really be careful with those.
All right, good stuff, guys. Hey, if you like this one where we broke down some overrated, underrated pitchers, well, come back to the next video because we're going to take a look at teams that might be overachieving or underachieving by the sabermetrics numbers. And in honor of our guest this week, BaseWinner, we're going to give you $10 off. And we're going to make the coupon code BaseWinner in the number 10. Just type in BaseWinner, the number 10. We'll get you $10 off a package at WagerTalk.com this weekend. Check it out. We'll be back with more.